Welcome back. These are not movie legends, or dusty history book names. They were real people, outlaws, lawmen, settlers, and survivors, whose faces have been lost to time. Today, in this video, we'll bring to life the forgotten faces of 20 Wild West heroes, including Billy the Kid, Jesse James, and Butch Cassidy, and let history look back on us. So let's get started. Oh, and as you watch, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoy the journey, a like truly helps support this work. Billy the Kid, Henry McCarty. Billy the Kid remains one of the most famous figures of the American Wild West, yet very little separates the myth from the reality. Born Henry McCarty in 1859, he was drawn into violence at a young age while drifting through frontier towns shaped by lawlessness and survival. Despite stories that portray him as a ruthless killer, historical records suggest a far more complicated young man, intelligent, soft-spoken, and barely into his 20s when his life ended. This restored image reminds us that Billy the Kid was not a legend born old, but a boy who lived fast in a brutal world that offered few second chances. Jesse James. Jesse James became a symbol of rebellion in post-Civil War America, often romanticized as a Robin Hood figure of the frontier. In reality, he was a former Confederate guerrilla who turned to robbery after the war, targeting banks and trains across the Midwest. His actions were shaped by bitterness, political resentment, and a deeply divided nation still recovering from conflict. This restored portrait reveals a composed and calculating man, far removed from the exaggerated outlaw caricatures. Jesse James was not simply a criminal, he was a product of a violent era struggling to define justice. Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp is remembered as one of the most famous lawmen of the Old West, though his reputation was far from spotless. Best known for his role in the gunfight at the OK Corral, Earp spent much of his life moving between boomtowns, working as a lawman, gambler, and entrepreneur. He was not always on the side of the law, but he believed strongly in enforcing order when chaos threatened his interests. This restored image shows a man shaped by ambition, authority, and survival in a frontier where justice was often personal. Wild Bill Hickok. Wild Bill Hickok was a skilled gunfighter, scout, and lawman whose reputation spread long before his death. Known for his long hair, distinctive mustache, and unmatched confidence, Hickok lived by his reputation and died by it. He was shot from behind during a poker game in 1876, holding what would become known as the dead man's hand. This restored image strips away the legend and presents a weary man who lived constantly under threat. Hickok's fame made him powerful, but also made him vulnerable. Belle Starr. Belle Starr defied nearly every social expectation placed on women of the 19th century frontier. Often labeled the Queen of the Outlaws, she associated with notorious criminals and refused to live quietly or submissively. Her life was marked by scandal, rebellion, and controversy, though many stories about her were exaggerated by newspapers hungry for sensation. This restored portrait reveals a strong, self-possessed woman navigating a violent male-dominated world. Belle Starr's true crime may have been refusing to conform. Calamity Jane, Martha Jane Canary. Calamity Jane became a legend in her own lifetime, known for her unconventional lifestyle and fearless independence. She worked as a scout, nurse, and laborer, often dressing and behaving like the men around her. Many stories about her exploits were self-promoted or exaggerated, but her resilience was undeniable. This restored image shows a hardened face shaped by poverty, illness, and survival. Calamity Jane lived outside society's rules, and paid a heavy personal price for her freedom. Annie Oakley. Annie Oakley was one of the most remarkable sharpshooters in American history. Rising from poverty, she gained international fame through Buffalo Bill's Wild West shows, stunning audiences with her precision and humility. Unlike many performers of the era, Oakley emphasized discipline, respect, and skill rather than spectacle. This restored image reveals quiet confidence rather than bravado. Annie Oakley proved that mastery, not myth, earns lasting respect. Buffalo Bill, William F. Cody. Buffalo Bill helped shape how the world imagined the American West. As a scout, hunter, and showman, he blurred the line between reality and performance. His traveling Wild West shows introduced millions to dramatized frontier life, often simplifying complex histories. This restored portrait shows a man fully aware of his image and influence. Buffalo Bill did not just live the West, he sold it to the world. Bat Masterson. Bat Masterson was both a lawman and a journalist, bridging the violent frontier and the modern age. Known for his sharp dressing and intelligence, he survived numerous gunfights and later chronicled the Old West in writing. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Masterson lived long enough to reflect on the myths he helped create. This restored image presents a composed observer rather than a reckless fighter, a man who outlived the chaos he once enforced. Pat Garrett. Pat Garrett is remembered primarily as the man who killed Billy the Kid. As a lawman, he pursued order in a region defined by instability, but his legacy remained controversial. Some viewed him as a hero, others as a betrayer of frontier loyalty. This restored image captures a stern, conflicted figure shaped by moral ambiguity. Pat Garrett's place in history rests between justice and regret. Bass Reeves. Bass Reeves was one of the first black deputy U.S. Marshals west of the Mississippi and among the most effective lawmen of his time. Born into slavery, Reeves arrested thousands of fugitives and survived countless gunfights. Despite his achievements, his story was largely ignored for decades. This restored portrait reveals quiet authority and intelligence. Bass Reeves enforced the law in a land that rarely protected men like him. Seth Bullock. Seth Bullock combined frontier toughness with civic leadership. As a lawman, businessman, and politician, he played a key role in bringing stability to developing western towns. He believed that order and progress were inseparable. This restored image reflects restraint and responsibility rather than violence. Bullock represented the transition from lawless frontier to structured society. Bill Pickett. Bill Pickett revolutionized rodeo performance and cattle handling with techniques still used today. A skilled horseman and performer, he gained fame despite racial barriers that limited recognition during his lifetime. This restored portrait honors a pioneer whose influence was long underappreciated. Bill Pickett's legacy lives in action, not myth. Tom Horn. Tom Horn lived a life defined by violence, working as a scout, detective, and hired gun. His career blurred the line between law enforcement and vigilantism. Convicted of murder under questionable circumstances, he was executed in 1903. This restored image shows a hardened man shaped by constant conflict. Tom Horn embodied the dangers of frontier justice without limits. Butch Cassidy. Butch Cassidy was known for charm, intelligence, and strategic criminality. Unlike many outlaws, he preferred nonviolent theft and careful planning. His fate remains uncertain, fueling decades of speculation. This restored portrait humanizes a man often reduced to folklore. Cassidy's greatest crime may have been becoming a legend. The Cowboy, 1888. This anonymous cowboy represents thousands whose names were never recorded. Cowboys endured isolation, physical hardship, and constant risk to drive cattle across vast, unforgiving landscapes. This restored image restores dignity to the forgotten laborers of the West. History remembers the famous, but the frontier was built by the unknown. Mary Fields, Stagecoach Mary. Mary Fields was one of the most remarkable women of the frontier. A former enslaved woman, she became a mail carrier known for strength, reliability, and independence. She defied racial and gender expectations daily. This restored portrait reflects resilience earned through hardship. Mary Fields delivered more than mail, she delivered proof of quiet courage. Plenty Coups. Plenty Coups was a Crow leader who guided his people through enormous change. Rather than resist blindly, he adapted strategically to preserve Crow culture and land. His leadership required sacrifice and foresight. This restored image reflects wisdom shaped by loss and survival. Plenty Coups chose endurance over extinction. Sitting Bull was a spiritual leader and warrior who resisted U.S. expansion with determination and dignity. He fought to protect his people's way of life and became a symbol of indigenous resistance. This restored portrait reveals strength and introspection. Sitting Bull's legacy endures as a voice against erasure. Geronimo. Geronimo spent much of his life resisting displacement and imprisonment. His defiance made him both feared and respected. Captured late in life, he became a living symbol of resistance against overwhelming force. This restored image reveals a man shaped by endurance rather than defeat. Geronimo never stopped fighting for autonomy. These faces remind us that history was lived by real people, not just remembered in stories. Each photograph we restore gives a glimpse into lives shaped by challenge, courage, and everyday choices. If you enjoyed seeing these moments return to life, the next video will continue the journey through uncovering more faces that time tried to forget.